So it's kind of like a bizarre regular season. I'm actually glad it wrapped up there. But look at all the teams now that are in the playoffs. I mean, first of all, you have Texas and Arizona who were in the World Series last year. They're not even in the playoffs at all there, so that's crazy. And then Detroit, where they come from? I mean, you got Detroit out of nowhere now in the 6th seed in there, and then of course those crazy Mets. I mean, they start off the season horribly, get all these problems there. Then you have this doubleheader. Now they're in there. So what's going on this season? Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, it's all settled. The Yankees have secured the #1 seed in the American League, which we kind of discussed last time, but now we have the full bracket picture here. So we'll kind of give you all the official matchups. Pretty much we're close to the way it was last episode, but a little flip-flop there between Kansas City and Detroit, but nevertheless, we'll just kind of give you all the matchups, what they have, of course, the Yankees and Cleveland with the #1 and 2 seed, get a first-round bye, but we'll give you the full schedule of the first round there in the American League, get you caught up on that, as well as I'll project what I think the Yankee lineup will be, just kind of based on the way Boone's been writing out the lineup card to kind of finish out the season there. So I'll kind of give you my projection of what the Yankee lineup would be and the strength and weaknesses of that. Plus a little injury news. Jay Cousins, I thought maybe he'd be lost for the entire season, not available. Looks like he will be available. So kind of give you an update on that injury. We'll do a little quick check on Aaron Judge. Probably most likely going to be the MVP, but can he get the triple crown? Might have a little bad news for there, but we'll examine his final numbers with that. And of course, about the Rizzo injury, fracturing his hand in that final weekend series against Pittsburgh there. Kind of see what the Yankees should do about it. Is it really a big deal if he doesn't come back? Nevertheless, but we'll examine that whole thing. And of course, we have to recognize the sudden passing of baseball great Pete Rose, the all-time hit leader. Of course, we know all the controversy with him not getting into a Hall of Fame. But again, we'll kind of look back at his career there, just kind of give you some of the numbers and little Yankee story behind that in terms of his nickname, Charlie Hustle, which maybe you'd be surprised to find out. So a lot of good stuff for this episode. Should get you prepped up for the ALDS. So the Yankees got to sit back pretty, watch some other teams bludgeon each other, and then the Yankees will be ready to go for the ALDS. So this is the ALDS pre-screener type episode there. So make sure you catch the rest of it. But of course, we have the podcast. So for the rest of the playoffs there, wherever you get your favorite podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Get my takes quicker. So you don't have to wait for the next YouTube or TV episode. But of course, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe there as well. Get all the good stuff for the playoffs there, and hopefully it's a long run for the Yankees. So the Yankees didn't actually have a stellar end to the season because those last 6 games at home there, again, they only had to win 1 game, or Baltimore had to lose one of their remaining 6 games for the Yankees to get the AL East. The Yankees was able to secure that, but overall wasn't a great ending, going 2-4, dropping 2 out of 3 to the Orioles. Okay, they won the last one, which secured the AL East. Whoop-de-doo, and starts spraying the champagne, but then lose 2 out of 3 to the lowly Pirates there, and kind of do it in a miserable way. It's kind of yucky, miserable weather there. That's of course with Rizzo getting hit in the hand, which we're going to get into a little bit later there. But of course, I guess Cleveland was just a little bit more terrible. So not that the Yankees really had a great end to the season, but Cleveland was probably worse than them ending their season. So the Yankees were able to secure the #1 seed without really blowing the doors off anything like that. It's just Cleveland was just worse than them to end their season. But nevertheless, the 2 of them are the top 2 seeded team in the American League there. So, again, kind of finishing with a little whimper there, but nevertheless, they got the #1 seed with the Yankees. Now, I won't beat the bracket to death like I did last episode, but again, here's where we stand, so it's all official now. Of course, I mentioned Yankees 1st seed, Cleveland 2nd seed. Now, the other matchups, the #3 seed is Houston, because they won the AL West there. Now, Detroit, they got the 6th seed, so Houston and Detroit, they'll play each other in that wild card round. The winner of that goes to play Cleveland, and then, of course, you got Baltimore, the #4 seed team, versus Kansas City, the #5 seed team. The winner of Baltimore and Kansas City will then go face the Yankees in the ALDS there. So that's the playoff picture you got here. And, of course, if you're a New Yorker, you're across town, you're a Mets fan, it looks like, they were going to make the playoffs, and they weren't going to make the playoffs. And, as I mentioned before, with this yucky, mucky weather, of course, we had the Hurricane Helene, going through Georgia at the time there, so they actually put a couple of those games between the Mets and Braves on hold. So ended up those games that needed to be necessary. So then they had that doubleheader on Monday where the Mets just had to win one of those 2 games to get in. They won the first game in kind of dramatic fashion there. So now the Mets, so both the Yankees and the Mets are in the playoffs, which doesn't happen too often there. So it's a little excitable now. Do I think that the Mets, are going to get to the World Series and is there any chance of a Subway Series? I just can't see that whatsoever. I mean, of the 2 organizations, I think the Yankees have a more likelihood of getting to the World Series than the Mets. I mean, the Mets, at some point, if they even get out of the first round, you probably have to go through the Dodgers, and after that, you have to go through the Phillies, and that's going to be a tough road to get there. I just don't know if the Mets will be able to do that. Whereas the Yankees have a little bit of an easier path. I mean, I would say the only really blockage for the Yankees would probably, if they at some point either lock up with the Houston Astros, number one, and even if the next round the ALDS end up locking up with the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, Baltimore played the Yankees pretty tough this season. Overall, you have to say that. I mean, there was maybe that one series just before the All-Star break when the Yankees took 2 out of 3 in Baltimore, but for the most part, Baltimore, did give the Yankees a lot of trouble this season. So, if the Yankees and Baltimore Orioles lock up in the playoffs too, that could be. I would be more afraid of Houston than Baltimore, but Baltimore could be tough as well because they played the Yankees the entire way. But of the two franchises, I can see the Yankees getting the World Series, but I can't see the Mets. But nevertheless, they got in there. And you might have been one of those snarky Yankee fans that the first game, that doubleheader with like Edward Diaz in there in the 9th inning and running on, and you might have been praying and hoping he just serves up the two-run home run and blows the game there, so Met fans are miserable. You could be that Yankee fan. I'm not saying I was watching, and hoping Edward Diaz would blow the game. I would never do that. I would never hope for him to fail like that. That'd be terrible. But there are some Yankee fans out there. You know those type of people. So during the first round, the Yankees are going to be dormant, but of course they want to keep the baseball activities up there so they don't get rusty. So this is their schedule as it stands right now. So they're going to hold workouts from Tuesday, so it's October 1st, through Friday, so it's October 4th. So the Yankees are going to be working out at the stadium there, with Wednesday and Thursday supposedly the heaviest workload of the day for that. And for the actual ALDS, once the Orioles in Kansas City duke it out and get a winner there, it's going to be game one will be at Yankee Stadium Saturday, October 5th there. So the Yankees will be home waiting for that. Again, it could either be Kansas City or the Orioles there. And according to the New York Post, the story there, so in terms of taking batting practice or facing live hitting there, they're using a machine called Traject. So it's TRAJEKT, trajectory. So suppose this machine you could throw slides and curves like a real person there. So I guess that's how the Yankees are prepping, which kind of makes sense versus the normal pitching machine that just throws straight fastballs, which maybe even I could swing and get lucky into one there. So they're using the trajectory machine on that one. So that's the New York Post covering that story there. And the good news about this is that while the Kansas City and Baltimore slug it out a little bit, their aces won't be available for the start of that divisional series. So someone like Corbin Burns or Cole Regans won't be available for game one there. So the Yankees, could have potentially Cole ready for game one, and Baltimore or Kansas City might have the third starter available there, where you give the edge to the Yankees there. Again, that's why you want that first round bye there, where you could set up your pitching staff there. So the Yankees would have the advantage of the whole field, and plus they'll have their aces ready to go versus you're probably getting the third or fourth best pitcher on either Kansas City or Baltimore there. So that's the schedule for the Yankees. So you just hope they just don't get rusty over that week off. So I mentioned before, Anthony Rizzo, as you heard, he had the hand injury in that Pittsburgh series. Again, took a ball off the hand there, and he had a fracture between his 4th and 5th finger there. Now, they say it's a situation where he's not totally ruled out. He could possibly be available for the divisional series there, but it looks like most likely Ben Rice is going to get the go-ahead for that. Again, Rizzo could be available if need be, but he'll be playing through some pain there. So it doesn't seem like, I don't know, it's even worth pushing him in there. Again, Rizzo, since he's been back from the fractured arm, hasn't done much with the bat. And really, overall, 2024, not a good season for him offensively. I mean, he looks pretty much done. Unfortunately, I don't want to say that. I mean, he does have a little bit of value, I would say, just because defensively, his defensive skills as a first baseman is still pretty sharp, as well as he does have postseason experience, going back from his Cubs years when they broke the curse in 2016 to, a couple of runs with the Yankees there. So, yeah, he has a little bit of experience there. But again, in terms of offensive production, it wasn't giving you much this season there. So if he's not available, it's not really a big deal. Looks like Ben Rice is going to get the nod there. Now, I liked Rice, and he came up there. He handled himself pretty well. Did he blow you away offensively? No. I mean, he handled the bat pretty well. He had a good eye at the plate. He wasn't swinging out of his shoes. But again, unfortunately, the batting average was low there to a point where they had to send him back down once Rizzo was ready to rejoin the team there. But I think this is good for him. He kind of had a first go around with the Yankees. He's got a little taste, so he's not just bringing him up here and just throwing him right into the middle of the Bronx Zoo there. So he kind of knows what the deal is now. So I think that experience helped him from a couple months ago. And look, he was involved in one big rally. Want to go back to that Saturday Boston game. That was really for me the series, that weekend series that really turned it around for the Yankees when they were kind of floundering a little bit throughout July and early August there. That kind of period for the Yankees there. He was part of that 9th inning rally. Got a big double off of Kensley Jansen, the Boston closer there, and that's a game the Yankees were able to win eventually in extra innings there. So he got a little bit mojo there. So I think that he could bring that experience to this here. Defensively, it's been much a wash. Is Rizzo probably a little bit better defensively than Rice? Yeah, but Rice wasn't terrible. And again, I think he could handle it. And it really, Yankees don't have any other options. I know people try to kick the idea of Oswaldo Cabrera, who did play a little first base in a pinch there, but I don't want to use him as a starting first baseman. I mean, him as a speed side, him I like a weapon off the bench. I like to have him come off the bench to pinch run probably late in the game or in extra innings. You know, get something like Stanton walks, and then you bring Cabrera out to pinch run there. I don't want Cabrera wasted starting at first base there. So it doesn't make sense there. And of course, you know, the DJ LeMayo's always floating around, but as much as I really don't want to see Rizzo back, you know, I just don't want to see DJ at all, especially, you know, starting a playoff game. I mean, guy hasn't handled a bat all month. He hasn't faced live pitching against an opposing team a little bit more than a month there. You're not going to throw the guy into the playoffs there, so that doesn't make sense. Does he have some defensive skills still? Yeah. Is he better defensively at first base? Maybe. I don't know. Again, it could be another wash there, but again, DJ LeMayo is an option. I just don't see it there, and it doesn't really make sense. Again, the guy hasn't faced live hitting over a month there against an opposing team there, so I wouldn't throw that. I wouldn't even put DJ on the postseason roster, to tell you the truth, but nevertheless, Boone did mention he could be a possibility, but again, I don't see that happening. Can't remember back in 2020, I think when the Yankees had Lou Ford. I mean, guy hadn't hit since like late August, and then in a big spot, Boone brought him off the bench in a playoff game. The guy hadn't hit over a month, and Boone brings him in off the bench in a big spot that he gets out. Like, I don't think Boone's going to make that same mistake twice, so I don't see that with DJ. So Ben Rice is going to be the guy. He's a young kid. You know, he'll take his lumps there. I'll see, and I'll get to the batting order, which I think will be, you're going to put him down there, and just, you know, just hope he doesn't like bobble a big ball or something like that. You're not going to expect him to do much offensively. But in terms of first baseman, I think Ben will be fine. I guess since we're discussing lineup, might as well fill the whole thing out there. So, again, basically the way Boone's been doing the lineup towards the end of the season, regular season there, this is probably what I project he's going to do for the postseason, game one there. So, again, subject to change. But, again, this is probably a good educated guess. What you'll see is, of course, Gleyber Torres leading off, which we've seen. Now, look, he's not a leadoff hitter. We know that. Maybe he's a number 7 hitter there, but Yankees, unfortunately, don't have many other options there. Obviously, they tried Volpe in the past. That didn't work. They tried actually Ben Rice in the past a little bit for like a week or two. That really didn't work there. So just by default, you got Gleyber Torres there. Of course, we know the next two is going to be Soto and Judge. They're fine. Now, of course, cleaning up, Austin Wells. Now, I don't love the idea of him being a cleanup hitter. He's not what you talk about. He's had himself a good season. Don't get me wrong with that. But again, is he a true, what you say, a bona fide number 4 cleanup hitter? No, but just the way this Yankee lineup is constructed right now with all the options they have, they don't really have much there, unfortunately. So by default there, and you don't want to stack too many righties in a row there. So he's a lefty hitter. So again, he's probably going to be a number 4 cleanup hitter. After that, 5, Stanton. Again, had himself a good season overall and get a good bounce back season for him. But again, he's 34, 35 years old. He's not the MVP player of like 6 years ago there. And, you know, again, he can still get into one a little bit, but again, he's a little sort of a diminished version of himself. And can he do it in the postseason? I don't know. But, you know, so unfortunately, you would normally want him to be your cleanup hitter, but again, he's a little bit long in the tooth now, so I can see him as the number 5 hitter there. Afterwards, you go Jazz Chisholm Jr., so you go from the righty to the lefty. Again, Jazz overall having a good season with the Yankees. Now, again, I mentioned in the previous episode, a liability probably at third base. I know he's made some sparkling plays there, but he's also booted some balls there and doesn't have a ton of experience at third base. And now you put him in the biggest pressure spot of all, a postseason game there. Can he turn a double play? You know, all that stuff. Can he run in on a bunt like that? All remains to be seen. Again, this is going to be all be done in the spotlight. I think you got to sprinkle a little postseason experience back in 2020. Again, that was kind of the COVID season with the Marlins here. But again, he's doing this for the first time on the big stage. Is he going to be swinging out of his shoes? You know, can he handle the moment? Remains to be seen there. So it could be a little bit of liability. After him, of course, I think Jason Dominguez in left field. I know he butchered that one ball in the Baltimore series there. But again, switch hitter with power. I'd rather see him. I'd rather, you know, I'll hold my tongue, take a chance if he does, you know, make a miscue there out in the outfield there. I want him starting over Verdugo. I know Verdugo got the big hit finally in the last Pittsburgh game. Whoop-de-doo there. But how many times, big spots before that Verdugo not come through there. I'd rather have Jason Dominguez and his bat there in the lineup. And, of course, at the bottom there, the remaining two, Volpe, shortstop, you know, batting 8th. Again, I like the situation of him getting on as a, you know, a base-stealing threat, because then after that, Ben Rice as a left-handed hitter, of course, you know, a catcher throwing right-handed, the left-handed hitter batters kind of, you know, gets in their way a little bit, so it makes it easier to steal a base. So that's why I like putting Volpe in front of Ben Rice. And, of course, Ben Rice, I mentioned, batting 9th there. So that'll probably be your projected Yankee lineup there. Again, it's a very unbalanced lineup. You have guys hitting in spots they normally shouldn't be hitting there, but all by default. There's not really that much Boone could do. What Boone could possibly do is maybe have Jazz lead off there, because he'd have a little speed and pop there. He might be a better hitter, you might say, than Gleyber Torres. But again, I'm also okay keeping Jazz there in the 6th spot there and kind of keep going, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, as much as you can there to, so a pitcher can't get comfortable. So that's like your projected Yankee lineup there. Obviously, what they do. They're going to pitch Soto and Judge tough there. They're not going to get much of a hit there. So you're going to need the other guys to do something. Wells is going to have to do something. Jazz is going to have to do something. Volpe's going to do something. Gleyber's going to have to do something. Can they do it? I don't know if I would bet on that a little bit, but overall, that's going to be a Yankee lineup. Now, what you may have noticed during that final game against Pittsburgh of the regular season is that Clay Holmes came back as the closer to actually save the game. So the win went to Weaver, and then Holmes the closer, which I kind of mentioned that even before the series on the audio podcast, which you should be subscribed to, is that I wouldn't be shocked if Boone would throw Holmes out there in a safe situation just to sort of see how he would react. Now, he came through there. Now, as for the terms of the postseason, where would he go there? Now, very easily, obviously, you would think maybe it'd be Luke Weaver because he kind of handed the job to him a couple of weeks ago, and so far Weaver's been fine there. But I wouldn't be shocked in certain situations where if Boone's totally going to go by matchups, because as they say sometimes, maybe the batters you get out in the 8th inning might be more important than who's coming up in the 9th inning there. So would I be shocked if he uses actually Weaver in the 8th inning and has Holmes close? No. I don't think it's really written in the books that automatically doesn't matter what the situation is, Weaver gets the 9th inning. I don't think that's the case. I think Boone's going to go with matchups just based on who has the better numbers against what there. So ideally, would he like to maybe use Holmes in the 7th and 8th inning and have Weaver close it? Yes, but I think if the matchups dictate it, or if this is a big jam in the 8th and you just need 2 runners on, 1 out, and you have more confidence in someone like Luke Weaver get at that jam, I wouldn't be shocked to keep Weaver out, get Weaver out first, and then maybe just have Holmes close the 9th and just really hold your breath. Now, I mentioned at the top that Jake Cousins, who I thought may be done for the rest of the season, has a really good shot of joining the club by the American League Divisional Series there. Now, again, mid-September, went down with a latch strain there, and they said 15-day, but we always say that, it drags on forever. But he has 2 hurdles he has to face this week. If he gets past those hurdles, then they will add him to the postseason roster. So Tuesday, October 1st, he's going to throw a bullpen session. If that goes well on Thursday, the 3rd there, he'll actually face some live hitters. And if that goes well, if he checks both those boxes, then he'll be able to join the Yankee bullpen, which I think is going to be necessary. As mentioned in previous episodes a bunch of times, I think the bullpen is going to be problematic for the Yankees a little bit. You have a lot of inexperience there, a lot of guys doing this first time. So if you just have an extra weapon like Cousins, great. Now, right after the last episode here, news came down that Nestor Cortes had a little elbow MRI, had a little soreness there, and it looks like he has a flexor strain, so he was put on the IL. So done for the rest of the season at that point there. But the other question is, would he be back like Jake for the postseason as for the Yankees? Doesn't seem much. Seem like Jake obviously actually has a roadmap to come back in the plan I mentioned there. Nestor's kind of up in the air there, but I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, with Nestor Cortes, look, he kind of had a weird season. Not terrible, but not great. Now, again, he's a weapon because he's a little bit funky the way he throws, but nevertheless, he's not the type of guy you're going to bring out of the bullpen to blow someone away at 100 miles per hour there. So, is it a real loss that you don't have him? No. Does it, and if he starts the game, what is he going to give you? Maybe 4 or 5 innings at most there, which you could do with, Stroman. You could do that with Clark Schmidt there. So the Yankee has other option there. Again, it's not like he had a tremendous great season. Like, oh my God, we don't have Nestor there. So I don't think it's a big loss for the Yankees to not have him there. The only reason we would see him is maybe if Cole or Rendon get bombed in the 1st or 2nd inning, then you need someone just to, lug some innings there. All right, you bring Nestor out because he could give you 3 innings like that. Okay, that's the only situation we see him. But then again, if that happens, you're probably losing that game because you just got bombed in the 1st inning. Now with Aaron Judge, I guess it remains to be seen if he'd be the American League MVP. I say yes, of course, that means someone's getting the bag. But of course, it's interesting. We were trying to follow if he would be hit the Triple Crown there, which would be, obviously more of a rarity. But unfortunately for Judge, it fell up a little short there, and that's kind of why they kind of sat him down a little bit during that final weekend series at Pittsburgh. That plus the weather was rainy, mucky weather. You do not want Judge running around out there and slipping and hurting something right before the playoffs there. But unfortunately, he's going to fall a little bit short, mainly because of the batting average there. So Judge ended up at a 322 batting average, which is tremendous. That's great. But unfortunately, you had 2 players with a higher batting average than him. Bobby Witt Jr. at 332, so about 10 points higher. And even Vlad Guerrero Jr. From the Toronto Blue Jays, he was actually 1 point higher than Judge, hitting 323. So unfortunately, Judge, we need, again, to get the Triple Crown, you got to lead in both batting average, home run, and RBIs. So, Judge was fine with home runs with 58 and 144 RBIs, but unfortunately, he didn't have the batting average. So, won't get the Triple Crown, but definitely got to be the MVP. So just reflect on the regular season where the Yankees ended up in 94-68, which is kind of incredible. You just look at all the Yankees went through this whole season there. Now it's kind of hard to really judge this Yankee team. Are they better than a 94-win team? I think they are actually, and I'll kind of get into that. But before the start of the season, here on the show, we looked at a couple of predictor websites, analytical predictor websites of where the Yankees would stand, and two of them, the ones we analyzed, both predict the Yankees will get the AL East championship, which they kind of did. So those hit on the money there. The only difference between the two is that one predicted that the Yankees would get about 94, 95 wins, so that one was right. And there was another one that said the Yankees only get in the high 80s, which to get high 80s, I didn't think that it would take more than that to get the AL East there when you have other good teams. We knew Baltimore was going to be good. Now, we probably expected Tampa to be a little bit better, but unfortunately, they didn't have a good season, as well as Toronto or Boston. You didn't believe in those two, but you expected Tampa to at least be a little better there. So you knew it would take more than high 80 wins to win. But nevertheless, both sides had the Yankees pinned as the AL East champions there, so we kind of figured that was going to happen there. But you look at the 94 wins with this team, which is kind of incredible. If you want to just go back a little bit, you look at April and really the first week of May, Judge was terrible. I mean, remember that? And everyone was kind of like, what's going wrong with Aaron Judge? Is he hurt? Oh my God, we gave him this big contract. Now we got another 8 years of this. What's going to go on? He's breaking down. All the hoopla. And then remember he had that situation where he started to hit a little bit. Then he got his first career ejection, got thrown out of the game there. And then from there, and really till right now, just absolutely took off. But imagine if Judge has had like a decent April, just a kind of a mediocre April. He probably definitely would have surpassed his 62 home run mark he hit a few years ago. And probably maybe we gotten the Triple Crown there. So put that in mind. Also put in mind that Garrett Cole, I mean, the Yankees didn't have Garrett Cole for like the first 3 months of the season. In fact, we almost thought we were going to lose him there when he kind of had that nerve issue during spring training there. And even when Cole came back, he wasn't really the Cole yet. Now you're starting to see Garrett Cole. Again, really two strong starts to end the regular season. One against Oakland, given the 9 innings, and another strong start going 6 2/3 against the Baltimore Orioles there when the Yankees secured the AL East title there. So you really almost talk about we didn't have the ace, fully 100% Garrett Cole to almost the end of the season there. So you got 94 wins without a mediocre Judge there and Garrett Cole not really fully back to himself almost to like the final 2 months of the season. Also throw in, man, just the miserable stretch the Yankees had in the summer there. Really, I would say the bottom half of June, all of July, and maybe like the little big end of August there. And again, it was that series in Fenway that really turned it around for the Yankees to get back on the winning ways there. But as I said, that was a chunk of series there they lost against teams they should have no business losing. Again, I kind of beat it to death there, especially listening to the audio podcast. Teams against like the Cincinnati Reds, teams get like the Cubs, teams like the Cardinals, getting losing 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3 against teams you have no business losing to. Just the Yankees. So the fact that the Yankees went through all that and still ended up with 94 wins is pretty incredible there. So now that everyone's kind of back, you kind of got Cole back there healthy, Judge is looking good, Soto's looking good, you got all these guys there. You can almost say that, if they had kind of this team right now the whole way, very easily could have been a 100+ win team there. So for all the flaws, for all the all the nagging, all the complaining about get rid of Cashman, he's not doing enough, fire Boone like that. And yes, there are warts in this team right now, as I mentioned before. It's not exactly a really good balanced lineup. The bullpen's a lot of uncertainty right now. Again, they had to take the close role away from Holmes officially and give it to Luke Weaver there. So a lot of flaws in the team, but with all that in mind, for them to finish at 94 wins there is pretty incredible. And just getting kind of wondered that, again, if they had this team that we see in right now the whole way there, I could very easily see them being a 100+ win team. Now, does that mean they're going to win the World Series? No, but it's definitely one of the better Yankee teams we've had in recent years. We've had a lot of disappointments. I know they say, well, if you don't win a championship, it's a failure. I don't think that. Again, I think this Yankee team is much better than the 2022 squad that was all beat up and eventually got swept out by Houston there. I think they're better than the 21 squad. Again, and now you could probably maybe flip a coin a little bit between 2017, 2018. The 2017 Yankees, as we know, that was the first time they matched up with Houston there. That team should have went on to the World Series there. I mean, that was good. So I'm not saying that team is better than that one, but they're pretty close. I mean, this is, again, probably the better Yankee team we've had in like about 4 or 5 seasons. And a little outside the Yankee world, it's worth mentioning, of course, the sudden passing of Pete Rose at the age of 83. Which was kind of, just surprising as the fact that, like, you didn't hear anything that he was kind of sick or anything like that. He was kind of pretty active, doing a lot of, interviews and autograph sessions, stuff like that. Now, there was, like, a pic right before his death that he was in a wheelchair. So, again, maybe he was battling some. We don't know. Right now, again, it's kind of under investigation, the whole thing. But nevertheless, not really worried about that. But want to reflect on his career. Of course, we know the whole thing with him. In 1989, got banned from baseball for betting on the game. Now, this was as he was a manager at the time, but still the fact that they kind of held it against him even as a player, so he was never able to get into the Hall of Fame. And there's always been pressure on various baseball commissioners to kind of lift that ban on him, which is kind of crazy because he is the all-time hits leader. We know that, and we'll kind of get into his numbers there. But now there'll be a lot of pressure on Rob Manfred probably to maybe do some sort of post-mortem Hall of Fame introduction for him because, again, maybe he did do that as a manager, and he did admit to doing that. But if you look at his stats as a player, there's no doubt about it. He should be in the Hall of Fame, not just because the hits leader, but everything else, and I kind of quickly mentioned that. So he played from 1963 to 1986, or a 24-year playing career. In 63, Rookie of the Year, MVP in 1973, 17-time All-Star, 2 Gold Gloves. Now, he wasn't really known as a defensive person, but got 2 Gold Gloves there. And a 3-time batting champion. But, of course, you look at the hits, passing Ty Cobb there, and I don't know if anyone's even break this record, but 4,256 hits. So it's like 1,200 hits more than the Magic 3,000 there, and a lifetime batting average of 303. So you just look at those stats. So, look, he did admit later that he did bet as a manager there. And if you look at his final couple of years, he played from 84, 86 as a player/manager, which is something you used to see back in the day. Even Joe Torre, when he was actually the manager of the Mets, he was a player/manager, but you don't really see that anymore in baseballs. So the whole speculation is that he said, yes, he did bet, but he would only bet for his team. He would never bet against his team and kind of figure, all right, well, I know this guy's going to do well, or I'm inside the clubhouse and I got a better feeling than what the odds are getting. So let me throw down a couple $100 like that. The only problem with that, once he's opened that box there, you have the reverse psychology of it. Well, did he kind of pull a pitcher out early so he could lose the game, or did he bring a guy out of the bullpen who he knows he's going to get shellacked there to win a bet there? So that's the whole mistake of the whole thing. I think it's crazy. Look, if you want to punish him as a manager, then fine, do that. But if you look at the stats as a player, which there's been no proof of him betting as a player there, that should have been enough to let him into the Hall of Fame there. But there is a little Yankee connection, and want to mention that as well there. So, of course, he's nicknamed Charlie Hustle. Now, people speculate where to get that name from. So supposedly, and there's a little bit of mythical legend there, in 1960, there was a spring training game between the Reds and the New York Yankees there, and it was a situation where, now, again, there's a number of different stories there where Pete Rose took a walk, but took a walk off of Whitey Ford. He kind of ran to first base instead of walking. And Mickey Mantle made the comment that, hey, there goes Charlie Hustle, hustling to first base. That's one version of the story. There's another version of the story of him, playing that game, catching a ball in the outfield that should have been, almost was a home run there, and kind of hustled down the ball there out in spring training game, where maybe plays kind of lackadaisical. Again, Whitey Ford supposedly called him Charlie Hustle from that. And then last but not least, the third possible version of the story is that Pete Rose scored from second base on a sacrifice fly. And you usually score from third base on a sacrifice fly, not second base. So maybe someone bobbled the ball or something, and he scored from second there. Again, hustling home, and again, Whitey Ford or Mickey Mantle call him Charlie Hustle. Again, those are all urban legends. So even though there's not much interaction between Pete Rose and the Yankees, you do have the 1976 World Series where the Reds swept the Yankees, and that was the first year of the renovated Yankee Stadium. So not much to deal with the Yankees and Pete Rose, but again, his Charlie Hustle nickname seemed like to come from Yankee lore there. And if you look at the whole situation right now that's going on in baseball, it is a little bit hypocritical, because what do you got right now? All the advertisements, Draft Kings and draft this and fantasy that and fantasy this, and you could be literally watching a game, and 6th or 7th inning, and they'll give you the betting odds, and they change the betting odds and all the stuff around gambling and betting. I mean, it's all over the place right now. But all of a sudden now they want to vilify this guy there, which is kind of wrong there. So I think as soon as possibly could. And it's a shame that he can't enjoy it, but they should put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. So that's the episode. Got you caught up on everything, what the Yankee lineup would probably be projected-wise. So you're looking at Ben Rice there, and of course Rizzo's out with the hand injury, so he set that all up there for you. And then again, in terms of the bullpen there, I don't think you can't guarantee that Weaver will be the 9th inning guy. I think it's going to be matchups. So if the tougher batters in the 8th inning, I can see Weaver coming in the 8th, and Holmes closing that game there. So don't get married to Weaver being the automatic closer there. And of course, who the Yankees are going to play. You have Kansas City, you have Baltimore. Me personally, and I know what to say, be careful what you ask for. But of the two teams, I'd rather see Kansas City come out top there. I don't want to see Baltimore. Again, they played the Yankees very tough this season, especially look at the last series at Yankee Stadium there. Baltimore took 2 out of 3 there again. It just seemed like overall Baltimore had the Yankees number this season, so I do not want to see the Baltimore Orioles. I'd rather see the Kansas City Royals, and it's a good rivalry. Go back to the late 70s between the Yankees and the Kansas City, so hopefully he can continue that tradition.